Deva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidiyat. Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita by Sachrup Das Goswami, Volume 4 in Every Town and Village Around the World 1968 to 1971. Chapter 31st, A Threat Against ISKCON. So what we were discussing was many times Prabhupada got angry at his disciples for their didn't have experience or innocence and they made mistakes, but Prabhupada had to correct them. Then another incident. During the morning class, Prabhupada was discussing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, an associate of Lord Chaitanya. Looking among the devotees, he asked, who can tell me who is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? No one spoke. Prabhupada waited. None of you can tell me who is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? He asked. One girl raised her hand. She had read something about him. That was all. Aren't you ashamed? Prabhupada looked at the men. You should be the leaders. If the men cannot advance, then the women cannot advance. You must be Brahmins, then your wives will be Brahmins. But if you are not Brahmins, then what can they do? Without improving their chanting and without reading Krishna conscious literature, Prabhupada said they would never attain the purity necessary for preaching Lord Chaitanya's message. So without chanting, without reading, never attain purity necessary for preaching Lord Chaitanya's message. While the local anomalies were weighing heavily on Srila Prabhupada, he learned of strange things his disciples in India had written in their letters, and he became more disturbed. One letter to devotees in America reported that Prabhupada's godbrothers in India objected to his title Prabhupada. According to them, only Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati should be called Prabhupada. And they referred to Prabhupada as Swami Maharaj. Prabhupada also learned that some of his disciples were saying he was not the only spiritual master. They were interested in reading Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's books as if to discover some new teaching Prabhupada had not yet revealed. Prabhupada regarded these remarks as dangerous for ISKCON. Advancement in spiritual life was based on implicit faith in the spiritual master, and to Prabhupada these new ideas indicated a relative conception, as opposed to the absolute conception of the spiritual master. Such a conception could destroy all he had established. At least it could destroy the spiritual life of anyone who held it. So, in ISKCON, at least, it's a different story, but when Prabhupada was present, he was the only spiritual master because he had established ISKCON painstakingly, his preaching, his training, and he didn't want that we go somewhere else and get deviated from the teachings the way he's preaching, he's training. So this could set a wrong precedence because then everybody would have its own ideas, and that would just water down things that Prabhupada was establishing. Though sometimes ignorant, his disciples he knew were not malicious. Yet these letters from India carried a spiritual disease transmitted by several of Prabhupada's god brothers to his disciples there. Prabhupada had already been troubled when some of his god brothers had refused to help him secure land in Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. Although he had asked them to help his inexperienced disciples purchase land, they had not complied. In fact, some of them had worked against him. Prabhupada had written to one of his god brothers, I'm so sorry to learn that there is some sort of this conspiracy by some of our god brothers as to not give me a place at Mayapur. Now, yes, there were some incidents that happened. Prabhupada wrote, like here it is, wrote to some of his god brothers, complaining about others. But then again, we have to understand our position. The, okay, it's good to hear, read about this, but that's about it. We should not uh, have any ill feeling towards Prabhupada's God brothers. It's between them, not that we have to get affected or do or say something. Nothing. Prabhupada was sensitive to any threat to ISKCON. His accepting the name Prabhupada, his teachings that the disciple must approach the spiritual master as a direct representative of Krishna without attempting to jump over him to the previous spiritual masters. These things he had carefully explained to his disciples. But now a few irresponsibly spoken remarks in India were weakening the faith of some of his disciples. Perhaps this insidious contamination that was now spreading had precipitated the blunders at ISKCON press and even the discrepancies in Los Angeles. Talks about the relative position of the spiritual master could only be the workings of Maya, the Lord's illusory energy. Maya was attempting to bewilder the devotees of ISKCON. That was her job, to lead the conditioned souls away from Krishna's service. So that is where Prabhupada was heavy, and he wanted to make sure his disciples follow everything properly. The recent events began to hamper Prabhupada's writing. He had been working quickly in Los Angeles and had recently finished a second and final volume of Krishna book. And on the very tape on which he had dictated the last chapter of Krishna, he had immediately begun a summary of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Gradually, however, his writing stopped. Karanda. Prabhupada's translating would require a great deal of concentration. He would have 2 or 3 of his big Bhagavatam volumes opened up and sometimes a number of other small books, which he would refer to for something or other. He would sit wearing his glasses and speaking into his dictating machine, and he would be completely absorbed in reading. Sometimes he would make a brief note, then look into one of his books, then open another book, turn back to another page, make a note, and then dictate. It required a great deal of concentration. I think that's why Prabhupada did most of it at night, after he would rise from his late evening nap. From 1 or 2 in the morning until 6 or 7 in the morning, he would be absorbed. It was quiet at that time and he could be absorbed. But when Prabhupada became disturbed about the problems in ISKCON, it inhibited his work. He was spending his time discussing such visiting devotees, or myself, or whoever was there. Then he would spend more time thinking matters over or pondering the problem, and he wouldn't be able to concentrate on his translating. These difficulties disturbed him, and he would think about them and say, I have not been able to concentrate. I have been thinking about this problem. Although the spiritual master suffers for his disciples' mistakes, Prabhupada's perspective was not simply negative. He continued chanting and lecturing in the temple and inviting the leaders of his movement to visit him in the ideal center of Los Angeles. But he also corrected the diseased mentality wherever it appeared. When, for example, Guru Das wrote from London to say that they had allowed an Indian guest to lecture in the temple while sitting on Prabhupada's Vyasasana, Prabhupada immediately wrote back, correcting him. I'm surprised how you allowed Mr. Parikh to sit on the Vyasasana. You know that Vyasasana is meant for the representative of Vyasadeva, the spiritual master. But Mr. Parikh does not come in the parampara to become the representative of Vyas. Neither does he have any sound knowledge of Vaishnava principles. I understand from a letter that sometimes discussions on Aurobindo philosophy are done by Mr. Parikh from the Vyasasana, so I'm a little surprised. How did you allow like this? I think you should rectify immediately all these mistakes, as stated by you in the last 2 lines of your letter. I think the best thing to do is to stop his class. Nonsense ought not to be tolerated. So, got to be very, very careful. In a letter from Paris, Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada philosophical questions about the perfection of the spiritual master. And Prabhupada answered fully, but sternly. A spiritual master is always liberated. In any condition of his life, he should not be mistaken as an ordinary human being. This position of the spiritual master is achieved by three processes. One is called sadhan siddha, that means one who is liberated by executing the relative principles of devotional service. Another is kripa siddha, one who is liberated by the mercy of Krishna or his devotee. And another is nitya siddha, who is never forgetful of Krishna throughout his whole life. These are the three features of the perfection of life. So once Tamal Krishna Maharaj himself, in one of his lectures, he explained this. What is sadhana siddha, kripa siddha, and nitya siddha? So easy example is, suppose there is a boy who was born in a very poor family, but he worked hard, he studied, worked hard, and in business, and then he became a millionaire. Okay. And then there's another boy who was just born in a rich family with a, what they say, golden spoon in his mouth. So he was born millionaire. And then there is a third boy, born in poor family, didn't work hard, didn't study, just used to play around. But when his uncle or grandfather died, they left him, he inherited property and became a millionaire. So in the end, all three are millionaires. So this is what sadhana siddha is, one who is conditioned soul, but he worked hard on his spirituality and he became perfect. And nitya siddha is who's from eternally, he's perfect, he never fell down. Like he's born in a rich family, so he's always a millionaire. And then there is kripa siddha. Kripa siddha is one who is liberated by mercy of Krishna or his devotee. So Gaur Govind Maharaj, in one of his lectures, or in his lecture, they put it as a book, the whole lecture. Gaur Govind Maharaj said that in Kali Yuga, it's almost impossible for one to become sadhana siddha. Our sadhana is not up to that level. So all we can become is kripa siddha, the mercy of spiritual master or mercy of devotees, mercy of Krishna, one can become perfect. But to get that mercy of devotee, mercy of Prabhupada, mercy of Krishna, one has to follow sincerely the instructions. Like Prabhupada said, chant 16 rounds. So it sincerely try to follow that instruction. It's not like on our own, by our chanting, we're going to become perfect. No. When Prabhupada sees our struggle in chanting or in serving his mission or in reading his books, trying to understand and then preaching, when he sees our sincere efforts, he becomes pleased. Then he gives his mercy. So mercy is not just, okay, I just sit at home, watch TV and watch movies and this and that and think I'll get the mercy because it's supposed to be causeless mercy. Causeless mercy doesn't mean that we don't have to do anything, any sadhana, and then expect the mercy. No. Causeless mercy means the proportion of the mercy of Prabhupada compared to our efforts is big. There's a huge difference. His mercy will be much more than our efforts to attract his mercy. Because of this is because of the compassionate nature of devotees. So we just have to attract his mercy. by our sincere struggle. It is a struggle. Every day it's a struggle. And and by our helping him in his mission, by our doing whatever service we can in the best possible way. So then we can become perfect. And then only way perfection is Kripa Siddha. There's no other way for us. So far Narad Muni is concerned, in his previous life he was a maid servant's son. But by the mercy of the devotees, he later on became Siddha. And next life he appeared as Narad with complete freedom to move anywhere by the grace of the Lord. So even though he was in his previous life a maid servant's son, there was no impediment in the achievement of his perfect spiritual life. Similarly, any living entity who is conditioned can achieve the perfection stage of life by the above mentioned processes. And the vivid example is Narad Muni. So I don't know why you have asked about my previous life, whether I was subjected to the laws of material nature. So even though accepting that I was subjected to the laws of material nature, does it hamper in my becoming spiritual master? What's your opinion? From the life of Narad Muni, it is distinct that although he was conditioned soul in his previous life, there was no impediment of his becoming the spiritual master. This law is applicable not only to the spiritual master, but to every living entity. So far I am concerned, I cannot say what I was in my previous life, but one great astrologer calculated that I was previously a physician and my life was sinless. Besides that, to corroborate the statement of Bhagavad Gita, Shuchinam Shimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate, which means an unfinished yogi takes birth in rich family or born of a Shuchi or pious father. By the grace of Krishna, I got these two opportunities in the present life to be born of a pious father and brought up in one of the richest aristocratic families of Calcutta, Kashinath Malik. The Radha Krishna deity in this family called me to meet him. And therefore, last time when I was in Calcutta, I stayed in that temple along with my American disciples. Although I had immense opportunities to indulge in the four principles of sinful life, because I was connected with a very aristocratic family, Krishna always saved me. And throughout my whole life, I do not know what is illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, or gambling. So, for my present life is concerned, I do not remember any part of my life when I was forgetful of Krishna. So far, I don't remember any part of my life when I was forgetful of Krishna. Here we have to we have to really work hard on thinking about Krishna. Prabhupada thought some of his leaders had become entangled in ISKCON management and were trying to gain control for themselves. In the classes, he would speak of this only indirectly, as he had when he had exposed that the devotees weren't chanting and reading enough. Consequently, most devotees were unaware of Prabhupada's anxiety. But occasionally, while sitting in his room or in the garden, Prabhupada would express his concern. He wanted his disciples to manage ISKCON, but to do so, they must be pure. Only then would he be able to concentrate on writing books. In June, he wrote to Brahmana. Now, my desire is that I completely devote my time in the matter of writing and translating books. And arrangement should now be done that our society be managed automatically. I think we should have a central governing body for dealing with important matters. I have already talked with Garg Muni about this. So if you come back by the Rath Yatra festival, we can have preliminary meeting at San Francisco in this connection. So he wanted his disciples to manage the society so that he has full time to write books, writing and translating books. And really, we wish Prabhupada had done that. Of course, Prabhupada gave us plenty for us to make progress. But still, at least, if he had given us full Srimad Bhagavatam, that would have been great. And there were so many other books also. He could have written his commentaries. In July, Prabhupada visited San Francisco for the fourth annual ISKCON Rath Yatra. It was the biggest festival ever, with 10,000 people joining in procession through Golden Gate Park to the beach. Prabhupada felt ill and didn't join the parade until about midway. He danced in the road before the carts as 100 disciples encircled him, chanting and playing kartals and mridangos. Afterward, Prabhupada wanted to ride in the car, just he had done the year before, but some of his disciples restrained him. A gang of hoodlums, they said, had caused trouble earlier, and for Prabhupada to ride on a cart might be dangerous. He disagreed, but finally relented and rode in his car to the beach. At the Family Dog Auditorium on the beach, Prabhupada began his lecture. I want to thank you all for coming. Although I'm not well, I felt it my responsibility to come, as you have so kindly attended Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra festival. I felt it my duty to come and see you and address you. His voice was frail. Later in his apartment in San Francisco, Prabhupada complained that he had not been allowed to ride in the cart. As leader of the Hare Krishna movement, he should have ridden on the cart. Not only had his disciples refused him, but several disciples had prominently ridden on the cart, as if in his place. So that problem was also happening. Not just they were just innocent and inexperienced, but some disciples wanted to take over the position of Prabhupada as a guru, as whatever leader. See, Prabhupada being the leader, being a pure devotee, he would not get affected by the position of being a leader. Get affected means it would get in his consciousness, or I need the worship as a guru, or I need disciples to bow down before me and it makes me feel good. No, he wouldn't get affected. But the chances are we would. Not just a chance, it's a high chance. So this is what Prabhupada wanted us to avoid. Like there is a saying, pride cometh before the fall. So before we fall down, we can become very proud of our whatever position, of our service, or of our beautiful body, or knowledge, or whatever strength. We can become proud, and that would hamper our progress in devotional life. So why risk the progress for any of these things? Knowing very well that through scriptures we know very well all these things are temporary. Pride, position, power, everything is temporary. It is only related to the body. But then somehow we convince ourselves and convince others, oh, I am doing it as a service to Prabhupada. No. If Prabhupada or Krishna wants this kind of service, they would let us know. Otherwise, we just should follow Prabhupada through his instructions. Simple as that. Not that we have to make up some things. Just like there is in South India, Rameshwaram temple. No, not Shrinathaji temple. When it was being constructed, one of the alvars, I don't know the name, so he had a background of he was a dacoit. So when the temple was being constructed, because he knew all the dacoits in the area, so he assembled them. He said, we need money to build this temple. So do whatever you're expert in and get me the money. So dacoits, of course, they're expert in kidnapping and stealing and this and that. So they got him lots of money for the temple construction. But after the temple was constructed, this Alvar, the Acharya, he has all the dacoits to follow him. And he started, I think in that area, Godavari River flows, I'm not 100% sure. So whichever river flows near the temple, he started walking on the water. And the dacoits just being had full faith in him. They started walking behind him and they all drowned. He didn't drown, he came back. So he basically killed them because he knew if they continue to do these sinful activities, it will be bad for them. So now they are purified because they have served Lord, so they'll go back to Vaikuntha. So the point is, we are not that powerful spiritually or any other way. So if somebody says, I'm going to steal money and serve Krishna, no, Krishna has not asked us to do this. So let's not put the thing on Krishna, oh, it's for his service. No, he wants us, first thing, to have good character, good sadhana. Prabhupada has given everything elaborately. So, and moreover, money part. If Krishna wants, he can bring the whole universe for his service. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambram Sevyamanam. Thousands of Lakshmis are serving him. So where is the question of anything lacking? Srimati Radharani, all the temples are being managed by Srimati Radharani and our team. So if there is any lack, she will bring the money. She will send the money. Not that we have to resort to some nefarious or wrong means to get the money. That would be against the principles. That will bring down the preaching, bring the name of Prabhupada down, Prabhupada's mission down. It's a shortcut, very shortcut, just to do something wrong and get the money, and that's no. The whole purpose is to transform our hearts, not to get money to build temples. And if our hearts are transformed, we have purified, money will come. There cannot be any lack of money. Prabhupada can send money, Krishna can, Srimati Radharani can. We just have to have faith. So even that was true then, that is true even now. What we have to do is just perform the Sankirtan Yajna properly and get purified. Yes, everything will take care of. We will be taken care of. Prabhupada asked the many temple presidents assembled for the Rath Yatra to meet and discuss forming a governing body to manage ISKCON. The devotees met and then reported that they thought only one of them should be elected the chief representative. They hadn't understood. The strength should be in a group, Prabhupada said, not in a single individual. Since he was ISKCON's founder Acharya, what need was there for another single leader? He asked them to meet again. Okay, I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जी हमारे यहाँ जो सप्ताह चल रहा है ना भागवत का, उसमें ये सब कुछ हो रहा है।
क्या?
यही जो लीडर है उसकी जगह पे खुद आके बैठना और ये सब जो अभी हम पढ़ रहे थे ना, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन। सो
सबको नेम फेम चाहिए ना।
आई नो सबको टीवी पे आना है, सबको डांस करना है, कैमरे के आगे आना है, वो जो लीडर है उससे पहले सबको वेलकम करना है, इट्स लाइक और सब कुछ चल रहा है वहाँ पे। I was just recalling, ऐसे नहीं, अभी तो कल भी यही हो रहा था, अभी मैं यही पढ़ रही हूँ।
तो
सब
वही
कुछ हो
ना,
रहा है।
उनका उनका
आई
भागवत
नो।
में कोई इंटरेस्ट थोड़ी है।
ना ना ना, बिल्कुल भी नहीं, सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता। और ये नित्य सिद्धा वगैरह भी कल के लेक्चर में था, तो कोई क्वेश्चंस नहीं था इसके ऊपर, कुछ नहीं, मतलब इट वाज लाइक ठीक है, आपने बोल दिया, हमने सुन लिया।
हाँ,
सब कुछ वैसे ही हो रहा है, बुरा लगता है, पर क्या करें।
भागवतम की बात करते हैं, but we don't have that mentality of Parikshit Maharaj of how to
ओह
listen.
यस, नो नो नो, नो वे प्रभु, नो वे, दूर दूर तक नहीं है, दूर दूर तक नहीं। थैंक यू प्रभु जी, हरे कृष्णा।
Thank you, Mata. Thank you all. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai
जय
Shri
श्रीला
Ram.
प्रभुपाद।
हरे कृष्ण, जय